The day they walked back into my life, I was wearing red-soled Louboutins and a custom Alexander McQueen suit. 10 years ago, they'd left me sobbing on a sidewalk in nothing but pajamas and borrowed flip-flops. Funny how life works sometimes. I'm Jasmine, and this is the story of how karma finally caught up with the people who tried to destroy me. Ms. Webb? My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. There are two people in the lobby insisting on seeing you. They say they're family. I knew exactly who they were before she finished speaking. My fingers hovered over the security camera feed on my tablet, and there they stood, Moses and his mother Gabriella, looking expensive but desperate, the same way vultures dress up in designer clothes. How long have they been waiting? I asked, though I'd been watching them pace the lobby for 20 minutes. About half an hour. Should I send them away? I smiled, remembering all the nights I'd rehearsed this moment. No, Sarah, send them up. While waiting, I touched the frame on my desk. A photo of the abandoned storefront where Sasha and I started our company. We'd slept on yoga mats in the back room, sharing one laptop and a dream. Now our brand was worth 9 figures, and tomorrow's merger would double that. The elevator dinged. I stood, smoothing my jacket, and watched my office door swing open. Moses looked older, grayer around the temples, but still handsome in that snake charmer way. Gabriella hadn't aged a day. Money and malice are excellent preservatives. Jasmine, Moses said, trying to sound warm. You look successful. Unlike you, I replied, noting his scuffed shoes and the slight fray on his shirt cuff. Designer knockoffs? That's new. Gabriella's perfectly lined lips tightened. We're here to discuss business. Are you? I gestured to the chairs across from my desk. Please sit. Tell me what brings the people who left me homeless to my office on the eve of the biggest deal of my career. They exchanged glances. Moses cleared his throat. We've been following your success? Stalking, I corrected. Let's use accurate words. And we believe we deserve some credit, he finished. I leaned back, enjoying the way Gabriella's eyes darted to the Rothko on my wall, calculating its worth. Credit for what, exactly? For motivating you, Gabriella said, her voice dripping fake sincerity. Look at everything you've built, darling. Would any of this exist if we hadn't pushed you? My phone buzzed. A text from Sasha. They're here? Need backup? I typed back quickly. All good. Everything's proceeding as planned. Pushed me, I repeated, standing slowly. Is that what we're calling it now? When you forged my signature on divorce papers while I was at my father's funeral? When you cleaned out our joint accounts and reported me as mentally unstable to the police? Moses had the decency to look uncomfortable. Gabriella didn't. Water under the bridge, she waved her hand dismissively. We're here to discuss the future. Your future. Our future. I walked to my floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city I'd conquered. You know what I remember most about that night? Not the cold, not the humiliation. I remember you standing in the doorway, wearing that ridiculous Hermes scarf, telling me I should be grateful for the life lesson you were teaching me. Jasmine, Moses started. That scarf cost $4,000, I continued. I know because I'd bought it for your birthday the month before, Gabriella. You wore it while watching me beg for my house keys. The silence in the room grew thick. I turned back to face them, noting how they'd aged, how desperation had carved lines into their faces that expensive creams couldn't hide. So tell me, I said softly, what exactly do you think you deserve? Gabriella's smile turned predatory. She reached into her bag, pulled out a folder, and placed it on my desk with the confidence of someone holding a royal flush. We made you, Jasmine, she said, and we deserve our share. 50% should cover it. I didn't look at the folder. I didn't need to. Instead, I pressed the intercom. Sarah, hold all my calls. This might take a while. I let Gabriella talk. That's the thing about people like her. They can't help but monologue when they think they're winning. Each word was another nail in her own coffin. "You see," she said, spreading documents across my desk, "we've tracked your company's growth from day one, every milestone, every achievement." She tapped a manicured finger on a newspaper clipping. "This fashion empire of yours, built on the foundation we created." The foundation of leaving me homeless? I kept my voice neutral, watching Moses shift uncomfortably in his chair. "Oh, darling," Gabriella laughed. "You're still so dramatic. We simply removed the safety net. And look how well you flew." The memory hit me like a slap. 10 years ago, this same patronizing tone. "Moses, dear, change the locks while she's at the funeral. It's for her own good." "Show her what else we have," Moses said quietly. Gabriella pulled out more papers. "Your father's estate, Jasmine. Did you ever wonder why you never received your inheritance? Why all those letters from his lawyers suddenly stopped?" My hands tightened under the desk, but I kept my face blank. "Enlighten me." "Mail gets lost so easily," she sighed, "especially when it's properly redirected." "That's mail fraud," I said softly. "Prove it," Gabriella smirked. "After all this time? Impossible." If only she knew about the cameras I'd had installed in my old house's mailbox. If only she knew about Zeke, the PI who'd been building my case for years. "What do you want?" I asked, though I knew. 50% of everything," Moses finally spoke up. "Retroactive to the company's founding, plus 3 board seats." I stood up, walking to my private bar. "Drink?" "Champagne," Gabriella said. "We should celebrate our reunion." I poured 3 glasses, remembering another drink she'd once handed me. The one that had made me so dizzy I couldn't fight back when they changed the house locks. "You know what's interesting?" I handed them their glasses. "How desperate you must be to come here." "What happened, Moses? Those real estate ventures not paying off?" His face tightened. "Business has been challenging." "And you, Gabriella? Social circle getting smaller? I heard the country club had some interesting discussions about membership renewals." She sipped her champagne, but her hand trembled slightly. "We're here because it's fair. We made you who you are." "You did make me who I am," I agreed, sitting back down. "Every night I spent in my car, every meal I skipped, every door slammed in my face because you'd ruined my credit, it all made me exactly who I am." My phone buzzed again. Sasha. "Lawyers ready when you are." Also, Penelope called. Perfect timing. "Tell me," I leaned forward. "Does Penelope know you used her trust fund to cover your gambling debts, Moses?" The color drained from his face. "How did you—" "Or that you, Gabriella, convinced the trustees to transfer her college fund to your personal account. Does the IRS know about that?" Gabriella stood abruptly. "We're not here to discuss ancient history." "No?" I pulled out my own folder. "Then let's discuss recent history, like the 6 shell companies you created last month, or the properties you're desperately trying to liquidate before the banks foreclose." Moses grabbed Gabriella's arm. "We should go." "Sit down," I said quietly. "We're not finished." To my satisfaction, they both sank back into their chairs. "10 years ago, you took everything from me because you thought I was weak. Because you thought I'd break." I opened my laptop. "But here's what you never understood. I was never weak. I was just trusting. And while you were congratulating yourselves on destroying me, I was learning, growing, watching." "What do you want?" Gabriella's voice had lost its smoothness. "Want?" I smiled. "I want you to sit there and watch everything you built crumble, just like I did. The only difference is, you actually deserve it." I turned my laptop around, showing them the first piece of evidence. Their faces went pale as they recognized themselves in the security footage, counting my jewelry before they'd even told me my marriage was over. "Now," I said, "let's talk about who really owes whom." After they left my office, Gabriella practically dragging Moses by his sleeve, I called Zeke immediately. "Tell me you got everything," I said. "Crystal clear audio and video," he replied. Their admission about the mail fraud alone is worth its weight in gold, but there's more. Remember that trust fund letter we've been hunting? I sat up straighter. You found it? Better. I found the lawyer who wrote it. He kept copies of everything, including Gabriella's instructions to redirect your father's correspondence. He's willing to testify. My hands shook as I poured another glass of champagne. This time I actually drank it. Sasha burst into my office without knocking. Those vultures actually showed up. Are you okay? Better than okay. I smiled. Everything's falling into place. How's the PR team? Ready to move whenever you give the word? She flopped onto my couch. But there's something else. Your sister Ava called the office 3 times today. My stomach clenched. Ava, who'd sided with Moses during the divorce. Ava, who'd testified that I was unstable when they took my house. What did she want? To reconnect. Sasha made air quotes. Said she heard about the merger. Funny timing, right? My phone rang. Elliot. I put him on speaker. Jasmine, you won't believe who I just had lunch with at the Metropolitan Club. Let me guess. A certain social climbing grandmother? Bingo. Gabriella was practically begging for introductions to venture capitalists. She doesn't know about us, by the way. Called you some choice names. Record everything, I said. We need... A text notification interrupted us. Mom, I'm ready to talk. About everything. Penelope. I showed the message to Sasha, who whistled low. Moses's daughter? That's a game changer. Elliot, can you host a meeting at your place tonight? Somewhere neutral for Penelope? Of course. 8 o'clock? After hanging up, I called Zeke back. I need everything you have on Moses's financial dealings from the past decade, especially anything involving his daughter's trust fund. Already on it, he said. But heads up, someone's been filing claims against him in multiple states. Credit card fraud, investment scams. Looks like we're not the only ones he's burned. Sasha was scrolling through her phone. Jasmine, look at this. Gabriella's been selling her art collection, 3 pieces last month alone. They're desperate, I said. That's why they came today. They need money fast. Should we be worried? No, I smiled. We should be ready. The elevator dinged, and my assistant Sarah rushed in. Ms. Webb, your sister Ava is here. She doesn't have an appointment, but send her in. Ava looked exactly as I remembered. Expensive clothes, perfect makeup, guilty eyes. She'd perfected the art of looking apologetic while taking whatever she wanted. Jasmine, she stepped forward for a hug I didn't offer. You look amazing. What do you want, Ava? Can't I visit my successful sister? She perched on the edge of a chair. I heard about Moses and Mom coming here. I thought you might need family support. Sasha snorted. Like the support you gave her during the divorce? Ava flinched. I was young, confused. They were very convincing. They paid you, I corrected. Gabriella wrote you a check for $20,000 the day before you testified against me. Want to see the bank records? Her face went white. How did you... I know everything, Ava. Every lie, every betrayal. So I'll ask again. What do you want? She straightened her spine. Fine. I heard about the merger. I thought maybe there could be a place for me in the company. A fresh start? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You mean you heard I'm about to become even wealthier, and you want your cut, just like Moses and Gabriella. It's not like that. Meeting's over. I pressed the intercom. Sarah, please escort my sister out. And Ava? I met her eyes. Don't come back. After she left, Sasha squeezed my shoulder. You okay? Perfect, I said, checking my watch. We have 2 hours before meeting Penelope. Let's make them count. I opened my laptop, pulling up files I'd been collecting for a decade. Time to show everyone exactly who they underestimated. Elliot's penthouse felt like neutral ground, but Penelope still looked ready to bolt. She sat perched on the edge of his leather sofa, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea she hadn't touched. He doesn't know I'm here, she said immediately. Dad would... Moses isn't going to know about this meeting, I assured her. Everything you say stays between us. She nodded, then reached into her bag and pulled out a thick folder. I've been collecting these since I was 16. Bank statements, transfer records, everything. The documents told a story I already suspected. Moses had systematically drained Penelope's trust fund, using his position as trustee to siphon money into his failing ventures. $300,000, Penelope's voice cracked. My college fund, my inheritance from my mom, all of it gone. And Gabriella helped him do it. Elliot leaned forward. Did she benefit from these transfers? Of course, Penelope laughed bitterly. She got her cut, always does. But that's not even the worst part. She pulled out her phone, played a voice message. Gabriella threatening to contest Penelope's mother's will if she ever told anyone about the money. When did she send this? I asked. Last month, right after Dad lost that big real estate deal in Miami. They're panicking now, trying to cover their tracks. My phone buzzed, Zeke sending updates. I showed the screen to Elliot. Moses had just tried to take out 3 high-interest loans using falsified income statements. Penelope, I said gently, I know this isn't easy, but I need to ask, would you be willing to testify about what they did? She met my eyes. That's why I'm here. I want them to pay. For everything. The elevator dinged. Sasha walked in with more files. Sorry I'm late. Had to dodge Ava in the lobby. She followed you? Elliot moved to the windows. Tried to. Security handled it. Sasha spread the new documents on the coffee table. Look what our friend at the tax office found. Seems Moses and Gabriella filed returns in your name after the divorce, Jasmine. Used your social security number and everything. Penelope's eyes widened. Tax fraud? Among other things, I nodded. They've been busy for years, thinking they'd never get caught. There's more, Elliot said quietly. I had dinner with Gabriella at the club last week. She didn't know about us, got drunk, started bragging. She admitted to intercepting your father's letters, Jasmine, said it was the best decision she ever made. My hands clenched. Did you record it? He smiled. Every word. Penelope stood suddenly. I should go, but first... She pulled out one last document. This is from Mom's safety deposit box. I found it after she died. It's a letter from your dad, Jasmine. Gabriella must have missed this one. My father's familiar handwriting filled the page. As I read, my vision blurred with tears. He'd known what Moses and Gabriella were planning. Had tried to warn me. The letter detailed accounts, properties, investments he'd set aside for me, all of it stolen while I grieved. Thank you, I whispered to Penelope. She hugged me impulsively. Make them pay. Not just for you. For all of us they've hurt. After she left, Sasha poured drinks. So, what's our next move? We set up the meeting, I said. Invite Moses, Gabriella, and Ava. Let them think they're coming to negotiate their cut. And then? I pulled up the surveillance footage on my laptop. Crystal clear video of Moses and Gabriella planning their original betrayal, counting my jewelry, forging documents. Then we show them exactly what justice looks like. Elliot touched my shoulder. Are you ready for this? Once we start, I've been ready for 10 years. I stood, walking to the window. The city lights below reminded me of all those nights I'd spent homeless, watching the same lights from my car. They thought they destroyed me. Time to show them they created their own worst nightmare instead. Sasha raised her glass. To karma. No, I corrected, thinking of Penelope's brave face, my father's letter, all the evidence we'd gathered. To justice. It's been patient long enough. The conference room felt like a courtroom as they filed in. Moses, Gabriella, and Ava, all dressed to impress, all wearing fake smiles. They thought they were here to negotiate. They had no idea they were walking into their own execution. Thank you for coming, I said, gesturing to the chairs. I believe we have some unfinished business. We're glad you're being reasonable. Gabriella purred, setting her designer bag on the table. I brought the paperwork for the shares transfer. Actually, I interrupted, I brought my own presentation. I nodded to Sasha, who dimmed the lights and activated the projector. The screen flickered to life. Date stamp, 10 years ago. Location, my former home. Moses's face drained of color as he recognized himself on screen, younger but just as cruel, counting my jewelry into a box. Where did you get this? Shh, I said. Watch. The footage was crystal clear. Gabriella directing movers to take specific pieces of art. Moses changing locks. Both of them laughing as they heard me crying in the hallway. Turn it off! Gabriella snapped. Oh, but we're just getting to the good part. I increased the volume. On screen, Gabriella was speaking. Once we get her declared unstable, everything transfers to us. The trust fund, the properties, all of it. Ava stood up. I shouldn't be here. Sit down, I ordered. Your scene is coming up. The footage changed. Gabriella in her study, writing a check. Ava accepting it, practicing her testimony about my mental state in front of a mirror. You recorded everything? Moses whispered. Everything, I confirmed, including this. New footage. Gabriella intercepting mail, Steam opening letters from my father's lawyers, Moses forging my signature on documents, both of them shredding evidence. That's illegal, Gabriella said, but her voice shook. You can't record people without... In my own home, with visible security cameras you chose to ignore, perfectly legal. I opened a folder. Just like it was legal for me to hire private investigators, to track every dollar you stole, to record every conversation where you bragged about destroying my life. Sasha distributed thick folders to each of them. Your copies of the evidence, including the tax fraud, the theft from Penelope's trust fund, and the mail fraud. The FBI is particularly interested in that last one. You're bluffing. Gabriella stood, but her hands were trembling. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I pressed a button on my phone. Zeke, send it. Their phones buzzed simultaneously. Email notifications. That's the footage being sent to every major news outlet, I explained. Plus the DA's office, the FBI, and the IRS. Oh, and your country club board, Gabriella. They're very interested in the real source of your charitable donations. Moses slumped in his chair. What do you want? Want? I want you to feel what I felt. To lose everything. To watch your world crumble and know you deserve every second of it. Ava started crying. Jasmine, please. Save it, I cut her off. Your tears didn't move me when I was homeless. They certainly don't move me now. Gabriella's face hardened. You vindictive little... Careful, Sasha warned. Everything's still being recorded. I stood, smoothing my dress. You have two choices. Sign the confession and restitution agreements in front of you, or face criminal charges. Either way, you lose. The only question is whether you lose quietly or spectacularly. You can't prove, Gabriella began. Actually, a new voice said, she can. Penelope walked in, carrying another stack of documents. Moses went pale. Hello, Dad, she said coldly. Grandma, surprised to see me? Penelope, whatever she told you, save it. Penelope dropped the files on the table. My trust fund records, my mother's will, every transaction you thought you'd hidden. I watched them crumble, one by one. Moses grabbed a pen first, signing with shaking hands. Ava followed, mascara streaming down her face. Only Gabriella remained defiant. I made you, she hissed at me. No, I replied. You tried to break me. Instead, you armed me. Now sign. She signed. As they left, destroyed but still breathing, Sasha turned to me. Feel better? I watched them go, remembering that night 10 years ago when they'd watched me leave with nothing. Justice, I said softly, feels exactly like I imagined it would. The media explosion happened exactly as we planned. By morning, every major outlet had the story. Fashion Empire CEO exposes decade-long financial fraud scheme. I watched from my office as Gabriella's carefully constructed social world imploded. Her country club membership? Revoked. Charity board positions? Resigned. Social calendar? Suddenly empty. Your phone's been ringing nonstop, Sasha said, walking in with coffee. 3 morning shows want interviews. Not interested, I replied, eyes fixed on my laptop screen where Moses's real estate license was being formally suspended. Let them dig. The evidence speaks for itself. My phone buzzed. Zeke. You need to see this, he said when I answered. Gabrielle is trying to move money offshore. Lots of it. Already? I smiled. That was faster than expected. Send everything to the FBI contact.
Done. But there's something else. Ava's been meeting with Gabriella secretly. They were at the Ritz an hour ago. Of course, my sister never could resist playing both sides. The elevator chimed. Elliot walked in, looking concerned. We have a situation. Gabriella's called a press conference for this afternoon. Let her, I said. She'll only dig herself deeper.
Jasmine, he hesitated. She's claiming she has evidence that you stole business ideas from her. Says she has patents from before your company started. My laugh was genuine. Perfect. Sasha, call legal. Time for phase 2. Within an hour, our lawyers had assembled in my conference room. On the table, every patent, trademark, and business registration in chronological order, plus surveillance footage of Gabriella admitting she'd never worked in fashion or business. Mrs. Stevenson's press conference is starting, my assistant called through the intercom. We turned on the screen. There stood Gabriella, perfectly coiffed, playing the victim like she'd rehearsed it. My former daughter-in-law, she began, voice trembling artificially. Built her empire on stolen ideas, ideas I developed. The feed cut off. Breaking news banner flashed across the screen. Breaking. Fashion CEO releases evidence of extensive fraud network. Right on schedule, Sasha grinned. My phone lit up with a text from Penelope. Grandma's lying. I have proof. Coming over. She arrived 15 minutes later, carrying a laptop. Found this in Dad's storage unit. It has everything. Emails, plans, even recordings of them plotting to steal your inheritance. We were reviewing the files when security called. Ms. Webb, your sister Ava is demanding entry. Says she has urgent information. Send her up, I said. Let's hear what story she's selling now. Ava burst in, looking frantic. Jasmine, you have to stop this. Gabriella's going to expose everything. Expose what, exactly? The things you did. The people you hurt building this company. I leaned back, studying her. You mean like the fake evidence Gabriella paid you to plant? The ones dated 3 years before my company even existed? Her face fell. How did you— Bank transfer hit your account this morning. $50,000 from Gabriella's Cayman account. I showed her the transaction record. You really should be more careful with offshore banking. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You're still their puppet, Ava. Still dancing for dollars. Penelope stood up. I recorded everything. Your meeting at the Ritz. The plans to fake evidence. All of it. Ava's face went from pale to gray. You can't— Can't what? I interrupted. Can't prove you committed fraud. Can't show how you conspired to file false reports. Actually, I can, and I will. I'm your sister. No, I said quietly. You're just another person who chose the wrong side. Again. Security arrived to escort her out. As the doors closed behind her, my phone buzzed with news alerts. Gabriella's press conference had backfired spectacularly. The evidence we'd released had destroyed her last attempt at redemption. Look, Sasha pointed to the screen. Moses was being led out of his office by FBI agents. Tax fraud charges, Elliot read from his phone, plus conspiracy, mail fraud, and embezzlement. They're all going down. I watched the footage, remembering that cold night when they'd thrown me out. They thought money was power, I said. They never understood that truth is stronger. What now? Penelope asked. Now? I smiled. Now we watch justice finish what karma started. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when Moses signed the final confession. He looked broken, expensive suit replaced by something off the rack, designer watch gone from his wrist. "I'll take full responsibility," he said quietly, his lawyer hovering nearby. "Everything we did to you? I'm sorry." "Save your apologies," I replied. "Just sign." The document detailed everything: the theft, the fraud, the conspiracy. In exchange for his full confession, he'd get a lighter sentence. Not that it mattered. His reputation was already destroyed. My phone buzzed. "Zeke. Gabriella's trying to flee. Airport surveillance has her heading to Terminal 4. I forwarded the message to our FBI contact. Within minutes, breaking news alerts lit up everyone's phones. "Socialite arrested attempting to flee country." "Did you know she'd run?" Sasha asked as we watched the footage of Gabriella being led away in handcuffs, still clutching her Hermes bag. "Of course, people like her always run." Back in my office, Penelope was waiting with a familiar envelope. "They found this in Grandma's safe. I thought you should have it." My father's letter, the original one she'd stolen a decade ago. My hand shook as I opened it. "My dearest Jasmine," it began, "if you're reading this, I fear my suspicions about Moses and his mother were correct. I've secured your inheritance in a separate trust they can't access. The account numbers are—" Tears blurred my vision. He'd tried to protect me, even then. "There's more," Penelope said softly. "The trust is still there. All of it. They never found it." The numbers were staggering. My father had left me millions, carefully hidden where Gabriella's greedy hands couldn't reach. "He knew," I whispered. "He knew what they were planning." My phone rang. "Elliot, turn on the news, now." The screen filled with Gabriella's face, speaking from behind bars. She'd demanded a press statement, certain she could still control the narrative. "Jasmine Webb is a vindictive woman who—" she began, but the reporters cut her off. "Is it true you stole her inheritance? Did you forge federal documents? What about the other families you've defrauded?" Her mask cracked. Live on national television, Gabriella finally showed her true face. "She deserved it," she snarled. "That gold-digging little nobody, thinking she was good enough for my son. We had to teach her a lesson." The footage cut off, but the damage was done. Her last supporters abandoned ship. The social circles she'd ruled now slammed their doors. "Karma's not just patient," Sasha said. "It's got a sense of humor." My phone lit up again. Ava, of course, probably seeking forgiveness now that her allies were gone. I declined the call. "Ms. Webb?" My assistant poked her head in. "The DA's office sent this. Final conviction papers. Moses, 8 years for fraud and conspiracy. Gabriella, 15 years for multiple federal crimes. Ava, probation and fines for her smaller role." "They're all going down," Sasha breathed. "Not all," I corrected. "Some of us are going up." The merger papers sat on my desk, ready for tomorrow's signing. Our company value would triple. But more importantly, my father's letter had given me something money couldn't buy. Validation that I'd been loved, protected, believed. Penelope touched my arm. "Dad wrote me a letter from jail. He said watching you rebuild your life made him realize what he'd become. That helping destroy you was his greatest shame." "People don't change," I said. "They just reveal who they really are." "Sometimes they do," she argued. "Sometimes they learn." My phone buzzed one last time. A message from an unknown number. "You won, but at what cost to your soul? G." I showed it to Sasha, who snorted. "Still trying to manipulate you from behind bars." "She doesn't understand," I said, deleting the message. This was never about winning. It was about justice. I walked to my window, watching the city lights flicker on. Somewhere out there, a woman was probably facing what I had faced: betrayal, loss, despair. Tomorrow, I'd announce a new foundation to help such women fight back. "Ready for the press conference?" Sasha asked. I smiled.
thinking of how far I'd come from that homeless girl in borrowed flip-flops. Ready to show the world that karma doesn't just watch, it takes notes.
The Webb Foundation announces its first grant recipients today. The reporter's voice filled the auditorium, providing legal and financial support to victims of domestic fraud and financial abuse. I stood at the podium, facing a sea of cameras and familiar faces. Penelope sat in the front row, beaming. Elliot and Sasha flanked me on stage, proud supporters as always.
10 years ago, I lost everything, I began. My home, my savings, my dignity. But today isn't about that loss. It's about what we build from our lowest moments. My phone vibrated. A message from the prison warden. Gabriella had tried to give another interview, claiming redemption. No one was buying it anymore. Our first initiative provides emergency housing and legal support, I continued. No woman should sleep in her car because someone stole her home. No one should face financial abuse alone. In the audience, I spotted familiar faces from the shelter where I'd once stayed. Women who'd shared their coffee, their stories, their strength. Now they were partners in the foundation, turning their pain into purpose.
Ms. Webb, a reporter stood. Have you heard about Moses Stevenson's prison reform program? I have, I nodded. And while I appreciate his efforts to change, this foundation isn't about the perpetrators, it's about the survivors. Another hand rose. Your sister Ava has requested a meeting. Will you reconcile? Some bridges stay burned, I said simply. I'm focused on building new ones. After the press conference, Sasha handed me a letter. From Moses, prison mail. I opened it, expecting manipulation. Instead, I found something rare. Genuine remorse. I watch you on TV, he'd written. Building something beautiful from the ruins we created. Penelope visits, tells me about the foundation. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know, you proved my mother wrong. You proved me wrong. You were always the strongest one. Touching, Sasha said, reading over my shoulder. Still not getting a Christmas card though, right? I laughed, shredding the letter. Some chapters need to stay closed. Elliot approached with champagne. To new beginnings? To justice, I corrected, and to every woman fighting her way back up. Penelope joined us, excited. The first shelter opens next week. We already have volunteers, lawyers, counselors, and security cameras, Sasha added with a wink. Lots of them. My phone lit up. Zeke sending updates. Gabriella's last appeal had been denied. She'd serve every day of her sentence. Moses's confession had opened investigations into other victims. More cases of fraud emerging daily. You know what I realized? I said, watching the sunset through my office windows. Revenge wasn't what I needed. I needed to prove them wrong. About me. About what women can survive. You did more than survive, Elliot said softly. You changed the game. A notification popped up. Someone had tried to access my father's trust account from prison. Gabriella, still grasping at threads. Some people never learn. Sasha sighed. But we did. I smiled. We learned that karma doesn't need our help. It just needs our patience. Penelope raised her glass. To patience, then. And to heights they never thought we'd reach, I added. Later that night, alone in my office, I opened my safe and pulled out the last photo of me from before. Young, naive, trusting. I'd kept it as a reminder of who I used to be. Now I saw something different in that girl's eyes. Not weakness, but potential. Not trust, but strength waiting to emerge. I pinned the photo next to my mirror, a daily reminder that sometimes losing everything is just life's way of showing you what you're capable of building. My phone chimed one last time. A message from an unknown number. You think you've won, but karma works both ways. I smiled, typing back. You taught me patience, Gabriella. I learned it wearing borrowed flip-flops. Now I wear Louboutins, run an empire, and help others rise. So yes, karma does work both ways, and it looks better in heels. Then I blocked the number, turned off the lights, and walked out. my footsteps echoing with the confidence of a woman who knew exactly who she was. Not a victim, not a survivor, but a force of nature wearing red-soled shoes.